So, Melissa, as an international student, you've had to deal with the journey of finding accommodation here. How would you say that experience has been so far?
Thankfully, there are instances in Holland, for example, trying to help the students to find housing. So we want to talk about this today.
Yeah, how would you firstly say that the experience of getting accommodation from in Holland goes?
Once you apply to In Holland and are sure that you're coming to the Netherlands, you can talk to In Holland via email usually and request housing, either just aid or specifically a room from them if you have troubles finding one. So usually In Holland arranges everything for you, and in the end you just have to arrange the payment on your side.
And if you'd like to get accommodation through in Holland, you'd of course have to do this rather early because there is a limited number of spots to have available per city, and this you would likely have to send to the international office. Now, besides in Holland being able to provide accommodation, which would only be for the first year that you're here, afterwards you'll be on your own to look for student housing. How would you say you'd go about this? Do you have any tips?
The most important tip is to start early. Ideally, it would be 4 months in advance, but me personally, I would say even more, so rather 6 months in advance, because it's really hard to get a room. You have to be pretty careful with which websites you choose. There's websites that offer housing advertisements, such as Kamernet.nl or Room.nl. Those are the most popular ones, I would say. In Holland lists a lot of reliable options on their website, so be sure to check those out.
And a more, how you say, social aspect, because through Kamernet, you can find rooms from other students who are renting just a room in an apartment they already have, but you also find actual landlords trying to rent away their rooms. But most of the time you can also find these on different Facebook groups. So a tip is also to just look up a Facebook group for the city in which you're planning to move in. I know there's a plethora for Delft, Rotterdam, The Hague. So if you're interested in looking for a room there, then I would suggest doing that as well. Some other tips would maybe be that if a deal looks too good to be true, it probably is. The housing is not cheap here, so if you're expecting a studio for around 300 euros, that's likely not going to be true, sadly enough. How would you say your experience has been with that when you've been looking through the websites and just trying to find a room in general?
There are in general a lot of high pricing offers. Maybe 1,500 per month was the highest one that I've seen before, and that was for a room that was not very big, but at least it was a studio. So if you're looking for a studio, you have to be, prepared to put a lot of money on the table. Otherwise, it is very common to just have a room in a student house, so you share the facilities like the kitchen or the bathroom with other students. Depending on what kind of preferences you have, you would have to look into that and see what they are also looking for. So usually those students are looking for a specific profile of a roommate. So you would have to go through viewings and interviews to get into the room, which is sometimes really hard. So be careful when you look for a room in a student house or a studio. There's many things to look out for here.
Yeah, and a really important part from that would be to go to viewings and go to sort of the little interviews, I suppose, which they have for these rooms. If a room is not willing to give you a viewing before you either put a down payment or a deposit, then it's likely not a good idea to pursue that one. I think the whole purpose behind In Holland giving rooms for the first year is because for many internationals, it is not possible for them to come over here and view a room. Online viewing is possible majority of the time, but even that doesn't really give the full idea of how the room is laid out and how the area is as well. So hence why there's more preference towards the first year international students to get accommodation through In Holland. But then once you're done with that first year, you're already in the country, so you can afford to go to viewings, you can afford to check out the area in which your room would be, hence why then you're kind of on your own to figure out how to move forward.
I have one more small tip. Be careful with the area that you look at. Don't look just in the city where you study, because the Netherlands is very efficiently connected. So if you want to study in Delft, for example, you have bigger cities like Rotterdam or The Hague very close by. Also a lot of smaller towns where there are a lot of rooms or houses even that you can look into. And usually the demand for those is not as high because people are more focused on the student cities. So be sure to check those out as well.
Yeah, no, that's a very good tip. I personally study at In Holland in Delft, and I live in a small town outside of Rotterdam. And for me, the commute is very much manageable. So that is a very good tip. But again, if there's any further questions you may have regarding accommodation and finding accommodation here, you can always contact either the international office, who can help you with any questions you may have. Thank you for watching, and we hope to have helped you out a little.